Oh, she's a beauty. She's a beauty. You can't stop me.
You got one life, for crying out loud. You might as well just give it all you got.
The Deej, Dan Jordan.
Your daily dose of reality. Your daily dose of the Deej.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I need my daily dose of the Deej.
I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader.
The Sales Energizer, Dan Jordan.
Listen, don't worry how to sell, baby. Worry about why people buy. And it's fun.
You don't need a 5-hour energy. All you need is the Sales Energizer.
Just when I think it's not going to be as fun as the one before, each one gets successfully better. What's the word I'm looking for? What's it going to take to get you into this car today, huh?
And now, please welcome the Sales Energizer, Dan Jordan.
Boom! That's exactly it. Do that. Let's do that. Look out, baby. Here we go. Look at those guns. That's strong. They were popping through your shirt there. That's big time.
Just a little tight, that's all.
Look out. I'm feeling good today. I got the halo effect going.
You are. It's very it's very
very
angelic today.
I find that I do that, by the way, during the intro. You know, there's drums, but in the background there's a boom, boom. There's like a thing. So I'm not really listening to the words I'm saying, but like every time I find myself going, I may not say it audibly, but I'm always like,
You know, the greatest thing for me is on a Wednesday, I get to hit play on this thing and I get to hear the sound of my voice or sound of my wife's voice saying, I need my daily dose of the Deej.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I need my daily dose. It's crazy.
We don't have any fun at all on this show, ladies and gentlemen. Some of these inside jokes are just for us, including our guest today, who spilled coffee all over himself. He was so excited to be on the Sales Energizer. How about that?
Well, you know, that's what happens. You know, so you were gone last week, Hotshot. You and your StreamYard cup. I got a cup too there in your face.
Oh yeah, doesn't have a duck on it, but we'll get you one.
I totally agree with myself. Where were you last week? I was forced to do it by myself.
I was on vacation. I chimed in line for Gatekeeper at Cedar Point in the mighty Sandusky, Ohio. And if you've never been to Cedar Point, Dan, if you're a fan of roller coasters, that is the mecca of roller coasters.
Really?
And my boys are addicted to it. And we spent 2 full days of nothing but, except when it rained on day 2 for like 3 hours, nothing but just high speed, 120 miles an hour. You know that old Maxell ad where the guy is sitting in the chair and the speaker is blowing him back, right? Yeah. That's basically me for like 17 hours of last week.
That is so cool. I am a big fan of roller coasters, and because it's the greatest life lesson ever. I mean,
roller coasters are?
Yeah, that's how your life is. You're up and you're down and you're up and down, but at the end you always feel satisfied and finished like you've accomplished something. It's a perfect life lesson. I'm a BFORC. Big fan of roller coasters. So
the acronyms, some of those are just for us too.
Yes. So I missed you. You missed me. I did it all by myself. I did a show last week. You chimed in on a show I did by myself.
I did chime in to say hello. And Dan, I gotta say, man,
it was better than bad.
You don't really need a Chris Stone. I mean, it was sort of like the the Jedi going, to the Padawan. You are now ready. Let me hand over.
I was having fun. I was having fun. It was great. The level of confidence I felt when it was over, it was really astounding. It was one of those things. You people out there got to know something. You're going to stink at everything you try the first time. Know that going in. But after 150 times, you might be able to do it on your own. but you just got to get. Anyway, so I want to publicly thank you for allowing me to take charge on those. That was very good. I appreciate it.
It takes guts to go live and to do a podcast. You know what else it takes guts to, Dan, is to start a
To-
franchise.
You're trying to move it over. I'm having fun over here.
Yeah, well, we do have a show. We do have a guest,
One of the things that I've started doing that I realized that you got to be on your own when Chris Stone leaves is that you got to constantly be meeting new people. So I made a commitment to anybody that asks for an appointment, I take it. And anybody that I meet on LinkedIn or something like that, connect with them, I try to set up an appointment. I've had tons of appointments, and they were, every once in a while, they're nothing, but every once in a while, you hook up with an appointment that is going to change your life. Someone who has such expansive knowledge in their field that they're able to help you, that you could pass things on, that you become a better person for meeting them than prior to that. That exact thing happened the day I met our next guest. And now I'm offered the opportunity to share him with the world and allow him to pontificate and expand the knowledge of everybody else who's listening on the Dan Jordan live show. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce my new friend, Scott Temme.
Yay!
Ooh, let's go. Wow.
How was that for an intro?
The fully caffeinated switch to water for safety's sake, but I'm excited to be here, guys. That was an incredible intro. I don't think I could ever live up to it, but I'm glad to call you a friend as well, Dan.
Yes. It's actually, we've been friends for, it must be years. I mean, it's crazy. We've just kind of known each other. How did I first meet you?
Project management seminar, you gave a speech, and afterwards I ran up to you afterwards and I said that was not what I was expecting, and it was awesome. Yeah, you crushed it. Okay. A lot of fun.
You see that? Yeah, that's really one of the benefits. Social media it's a give and take type of thing. It's like sometimes you meet people on social media and then you see them out in the real world and it's a different thing, and sometimes it's vice versa. You meet them and then you keep going from there. But it's great. But the reason why you were at a project management thing is you were there as an owner of a business, or were you there as a salesman with the franchises?
Seeker of wisdom and knowledge. That's part of what I do is project management projects in my current role. So yes, I have a sales role, but I also do a little bit of project management when stores, go from concept and somebody signs an agreement all the way to opening of the new store. It requires a little bit of project management. So that's why I'm there. So we've got a really great way that we support new stores, and a lot of it has to do with project management.
All right. Well, before we get going, because here's the deal. I get on a weekly basis. There's franchise brokers, and what they'll do is they'll reach out to people of a certain title on LinkedIn and say, hey, have you ever thought in going into business for yourself? We could find the perfect. Let's have a consultation, and we'll find the perfect thing for you. And in that, it's very enticing. And I talk to these people because I talk to everybody. But you're in a position where you work for one company. Mm-hmm. And so you have to find out, exactly. So first, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself, who you are, the company you're working for, and how you got into it?
Sure. So my name's Scott Temme, longtime lover of the franchise model, but I knew going back to early life and college days that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Went to college, got a hospitality degree. Shout out to all University of Missouri folks out there. Had a great experience. And I knew that one day I'd want to own my own business. And I was working in restaurants at the time. And that's really kind of where it started. So I went to work for a lot of different brands running operations, and eventually got to a point where saved up enough nickels and dimes and took a chance on one of the brands. Was the very first franchisee of Tropical Smoothie here in Atlanta, Georgia, and really That's a story that, you think it's just going to be gangbusters out the gate, and it wasn't, but the story's got a super happy ending. So, for anybody who's aspired to own their own business or been an entrepreneur, hey, my hat's off to you if you can make it. That restaurant's still there 8-9 years later, thriving and doing extremely well. So, I transitioned out of that, and now I sell franchises. I recruit franchisees. Now, really, what my role is, it's really fun. I love what I do because I get to help other people realize that dream of business ownership and entrepreneurship. Now, that's through the franchising vehicle. So these are not necessarily quote unquote entrepreneurial startups, but I love the franchise model. It's a little bit more, in my opinion, of a safe bet. And there's a lot of data to support that. Franchising goes way back, and it's growing. Over the last 3-4 years, you've seen slow, steady growth in the franchise model for lots of different reasons. But I'm just a really big proponent of the franchise model.
All right, but and I think you hit a couple of really good points. But let me ask you: you think it's a safer bet? Why?
Well, I think you're what you're doing when you join a franchise is you're leveraging somebody's brand that's already established, right? And you're bringing that brand to a community that's potentially underserved. And both sides of that equation have some pros and cons to what they're doing. The brand is saying, hey, we want to provide an opportunity to somebody and use their capital. And we're also having somebody that probably lives and works in that community and can leverage the relationships in the brand to go grow the brand. And then, of course, the franchisee benefits because they get to own their own business, but they get the support of a brand behind them. We like to say in franchising, you want to be in business for yourself, but not by yourself, is really kind of a great catchphrase of franchising in general.
Well, what if, because there's a lot of, you're in the food franchise business with Honey Baked Ham. And it's a name brand, it has a name. People know it in the South there. People know Honey Baked Ham, but there are plenty of franchises that, no one's ever heard of.
Oh,
and
sure.
So if or it's a startup, they may be big in, Oklahoma, but they're coming to an end and they don't really have that name recognition. What can they do to, why would that be better to be in a franchise with not a strong brand than to just start on your own?
Why would it be better to be in a franchise without a strong brand?
Well, no. I mean, why would somebody choose the franchise route if it's not a strong brand? It might be a startup brand at this point. Like, what would be the benefit to going with a franchise? I think there is one to going with a franchise even if they don't have that.
Yeah, I think the model really supports growth. I think that's what franchising really is. You join a community of like-minded people, hopefully that you can kind of leverage. Hey, we're all in this together. All boats hopefully rise together. You're also buying the support and wisdom and knowledge of the franchise leadership team to be successful in business. You're also buying new product development and, hey, what might happen? I mean, the way in which we supported franchisees during the pandemic, I thought was really pretty fantastic as one recent example of just, the support that you get when you leverage a franchise system. Now you pay
you're not all by yourself.
Yeah,
you're
you
not
pay
all
for
by
that. You got royalties, you got fees, you do. So it works kind of both ways, but I just, I'm a big believer in the franchise model, seen a lot of people be very successful for it.
Scott, do you see a lot of people that they look at franchising and they say, well, I was interested in starting a business maybe by myself, but this is a way for me to kind of not have to worry about, marketing, developing a brand, all of those kinds of things. Then they get into it and they get into the franchising and they see and they learn from that, right? Having this franchise and sort of doing it and then starting a business by themselves as well. Is it sort of a bridge to that for entrepreneurs?
I mean, Chris, I've seen it both ways. I mean, having been around the industry for over 10 years plus now, I absolutely can think of examples where people got into franchising, they've been successful, and then stair-stepped into straight entrepreneurship. Because let's face it, until you've gone and owned your own business, you just don't know. You don't know what you don't know, and there's a lot to know to owning your own business. It's very different than having a corporate day job. So you're right. It can be a stair-step approach where you get into a brand, you open one location, maybe a couple, and franchising has lots of different ways and means about it. I work in a brick and mortar retail establishment, iconic brand, well known. But to Dan's point, there's 4,000 franchise brands out there in the United States, a lot to choose from. Anything your heart could desire, find something that you love, that you're passionate about, that you're going to go have fun doing, because there's going to be some trials and tribulations when you go do franchising. And then to Chris's point, if you take it further and become a full-fledged entrepreneur and you've got a wild dream that you think can work, that's going to be even fraught with a little bit more risk, and you're just going to have really follow your patience to be successful.
I've got an idea to start a franchise that makes, like, I don't know, pork-based sandwiches and does like catering, and then the meal comes in a box with a cookie. What do you think about that kind of idea? You think that's a pretty good idea?
I think it's a great idea. I might know somebody who could help you be
right?
uber successful doing that. There might even be a box here that you might want to look at, maybe as product development. I happen to be at the ready.
I love that pig logo on the side, the one that has the face of the pig. Your day's about to be made. That's awesome.
Isn't that great?
Let me ask you, Scott, what is like when somebody goes into it? What do you think are the best qualities, or what qualities in the individual franchisee that makes it that you could point your finger to that would help them be successful?
I can speak to this brand and I can speak to a few other brands that I know, but I would absolutely start with just passion. That there's a passion and a love for the brand in which you aspire to be part of, because I said you're going to have some challenges. But, number one, it's passion. And you could also say, part two is shared values. The people that are part of that brand, the values may be on a wall, they may not be. They happen to be at Honey Baked. We're really proud of our values. We're our family-owned organization, so they come through in just about everything that we do. But whether it's Honey Baked or another brand, we'd go through something in franchising called validation or discovery, where we are required to provide a list of all franchisees in the existing system. And I absolutely encourage and follow up and make sure the potential candidates are calling existing franchisees saying, hey, do you love what you do? Are you having a good experience? So I never ask like, hey, who'd you talk to? What'd they say? I just say, hey, how is discovery going? Are you making those calls? Hopefully you're walking into one of our locations and asking the franchisees. And I always say, just like we're having today, just have a conversation. Start with the softball questions like, do you love what you do? If you had to do it all over again, would you do it? And then go into some of the deeper kind of conversations, which of course we all want to know. Hey, can I make money doing this? Right?
Yeah. Well, that's great. Yeah. Well, first of all, let me say, Scott, I know this is your first live show. You're awesome at this. This is just great. I mean, it's. I mean, most times you ask somebody.
He's not just saying that, Scott. If you were terrible, you'd hear that too.
Yeah. I'll say that too. We should end this early. But this is you're giving great sales advice. Also, you're in essence, when you're telling somebody, go ahead and call those others and ask them. That question is a killer question. Do you love what you do? Would you do it all over again? Yeah. I mean, that's confidence in your brand, that's going to work, but it's also a test. If they don't go and if they don't ask a bunch of people, and when I buy a bunch of people, I would call dozens. I would call them all. And I'd walk into a bunch of them and I'd fly. And I mean, this is a big investment for these things. If they're not willing to do that, they're not passionate about themselves for success, but they're definitely not passionate about their brand. And so you're disqualifying. What do you do when people don't make that effort?
That's a little bit of tough love, because absolutely, I'm following my heart here, and I don't want someone to get into this if they're not really passionate about doing it and they're not in it. I mean, what we're signing is a 10-year agreement with 2 5-year options to renew. So the way I frame this up is like, this is a 20-year decision and a whole lot of money. These agreements are hard to get into. They're also hard to get out of. I love the model. I love the brand. I love what I do. I wouldn't do it if I didn't 100% believe in it, but they got to be in it too. And because there's going to be challenges and there's going to be, trials and tribulations. And if you're not willing to invest the time ahead of time, of course, I've had those conversations, Dan, a little bit of tough love that says, hey, I'm just I'm concerned that you're not putting in the time to assess whether or not this is the right thing for you. Let's talk about that. So, of course, there's a little bit of that from time to time that happens.
Not many Jews in this pork business. You know. Oh, people don't want to touch it. No, I knew a girl years ago, Stacy Lederman, who worked for Honey Baked Ham, and she had grown up kosher, and you know what, in her house, and then she wanted to work for Honey Baked. She was actually the ham ambassador. I was like, do you guys have ham ambassadors?
Of course, love it.
That's what they're called.
Yes.
I want to be a ham ambassador. That just sounds awesome. You could put that on a business card, and people would just be like, you know, what the heck is an ambassador? That's amazing.
We need to get you guys out to our next new store opening. The next one's scheduled. Surfside, South Carolina is coming soon. Somerset, Kentucky is coming soon. We need to get you out there and meet some of our ham ambassadors. When we have a new store opening, we put on the show, and we get the community out there. Really? Our ham ambassadors crush it. Yeah. Yeah, it's really fun.
I love the fact that you're qualifying these people, because I think people, when they're kind of scrambling for what they want to do, whether they entrepreneurship, franchising is certainly, something that's maybe in the mix. It's really just about, how can I make money, right? How can I sustain my life? How can I live life on my own terms? And this sounds like something I can make money on, right? Mm-hmm. But are they passionate about feeding people, like, serving people? Are they, can you, so what are some of the things that like more specific things that you look for in people, besides like just, generally passion? Like, what are some tips for somebody that it's like, hey, I want to get into franchising. What types of qualities do I need in order to do that?
No, it's a great follow-up question. Thank you, Chris, for asking it, because we do ask for some. It starts with passion, but quickly it moves into, well, tell me a little bit about your background. So, Do you have experience in restaurant or retail? So, either you need to have it, or you need to have a qualified operator that we reserve the right to approve as part of the agreement that you would come in. So we need to feel confident that there's going to be somebody. Yes, we provide training, of course we do, start to finish, on how to run a Honey Baked Ham store, but you need to bring in a sense that you understand how to lead a team in a retail or restaurant environment. You also have to go through financial qualifications. So our minimum financial qualifications are a net worth of $350 and $100K liquid. So those are just check marks. Now, we do a financial application, we verify assets, but when you just kind of think about the three big pillars, it's that values, shared values, passion, the operations. Do you have the kind of the muscle to operate this thing? And then financially, is it viable?
Gotcha. And about how, I guess the next question, when somebody's like, has a visceral idea of franchising, knowing you got to have $100K liquid, knowing that you've got to invest that on top of that, like, what's that return look like in terms of timing? Like, generally, if you're putting forth the effort, you're putting forth the work, you're into it, you're putting the effort in, how long does it take before somebody starts to feel like, okay, this is something that is benefiting me, and I'm able to turn this into some sort of profit?
Another great question. And you're touching on something that makes my job a little challenging. By franchise law, I'm only allowed to say certain things, right? Creates reliance. Yep. So what I do is I point to a document called a franchise disclosure document, FDD, which that really governs everything that I'm allowed to say. So you're asking me like, hey, return on investment, how long? We don't quote that in our FDD. Now, we quote a lot of things I'm really proud of, but we don't quote return on investment. I think what you're touching on is profitability. Mm-hmm. We quote an actual EBITDA number of 15% in our franchise disclosure document. I'm really proud that I work for a brand that does that, because less than about 5% of the industry actually releases that information to prospective franchisees. So, I feel like if you saw our FDD and stacked it up to other brands' FDD, you would come away saying, well, we really have a pretty compelling case, and we're also pretty transparent within the guise of the law.
And for those of you who don't know what EBITDA is, it's just a fancy, earnings before interest, taxation, and amortization. It's a fancy way of saying profit. And okay.
There's only Scott. Scott's the only guest to put out more acronyms than Dan Jordan on any of our shows, by the way.
but the profit. But in essence, you're paying for a job for 2 years.
Well, I don't know that I quite put it that way.
I thought the coffee made your seat warm.
You're paying to work, but no, it all depends on the operator, on where they focus, and you want to focus. Mm-hmm. I know your business in particular has has two components. It has a retail establishment, and then it has a lot of catering things that you go outward. So,
God, this website's making me hungry.
How does your business, is it a cyclical thing?
Well, sure. I mean, Honey Baked Ham, if you're familiar with it, for sure, the holiday ham business is at the core of what we've done for the last 65 years and counting now, right? And that's, look, that was my entry point into this brand. I mean, I remember as a kid sitting around the holiday table after running up to the local ham store with my Uncle Kurt to grab the ham, and then coming back, and the family cherished memories of Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter, for sure. That's really at the core of what we do, is connect families together and create those special memories. But we also leverage it throughout the rest of the year, and what we call now the everyday meal period, and how we're going to double the size of this organization by doing that. And it's all kinds of experiences. Yes, it's retail business that a lot of folks know, but it's also our lunch business. You can come in and have lunch, and it's really a pretty fantastic product, if I don't say myself. And we also have catering. That's an extension of the lunch business, right? Catering is, hey, I want to have lunch with me and all my friends that I work with. That's really catering. And then we've got this little segment of our business called gifting. And gifting's pretty fantastic. We have 4 revenue streams at Honey Baked. That gifting leg of our revenue stream is really fun because, for me as an ex-operator, and at one point I was an operator of a Honey Baked, it was a whole lot of fun to go out there and just, beat the streets on, hey, would you like to provide some gifts for customers or vendors? So our franchisees have all kinds of different ways that they can drive top line sales.
That's money. By the way, let me ask you, I used to be in another life, I was a business broker, and I sold a lot of businesses, not franchises as much as just local businesses that would have to transfer. And every time somebody would come and try to go into the business, I'd tell them, listen, go there and work there for 2 weeks, and you'll learn more in 2 weeks working at a place than you will in 2 years looking at financial statements. Do you encourage people, if they don't have that exposure yet, to go ahead and get a job and work it and just figure it out?
Absolutely. I love that idea. I think that is fantastic. And we've got a great way to do that at Honey Baked, because we hire a lot of seasonal folks. Our stores typically have, let's call it 10 employees that are year round. During the holiday, they could have as many as 40, 50, 60. Now, those folks are seasonal folks. They're only going to be there for a couple of weeks during Thanksgiving, and then maybe they come back for Christmas. They'll be there for 3 weeks during Christmas, and they come at Easter. So to your point, Dan, it's a great opportunity to come in, learn how to work a blowtorch, because we do get to play with a blowtorch at Honey Baked. That's a really fun part of what we do.
But wait a minute. Scott, we're 28 minutes in, 28 minutes in, and now you bring up the blowtorch?
Yeah, I do.
Oh my gosh. Look, your phone's about to be ringing now. I mean, that's amazing. I'm sorry to interrupt. You said blowtorch, and it's like saying squirrel.
Yeah, that's right. Flamethrower.
No, it's a lot of fun. I still do it. I mean, I was in our new store this Easter with a franchisee. And what's fun, Chris, is I'm there in my pink dress shirt and my khaki button downs, and nobody really thinks that I know how to do that still, right? And there's 8 to 10 associates back there in the franchise, and I'm like, hey, do you mind if I glaze a little bit? And they're all like rolling their eyes like, this guy's gonna burn them up, and we're gonna be here much longer in the day. And then I just roll up my sleeves, get out the blowtorch, safety goggles, the whole 9 yards.
I love it.
I roll. I've only done a few thousand of these things, so once I get rolling, I can blowtorch a ham or two, and it's a lot of fun.
That's how I first met him. There was a big.
Oh, you guys were hanging out glazing a little bit.
Scott Temme. The boy can glaze. That's it. He's the mad glazer. So
I'm not sure I'm comfortable having this conversation, but go ahead.
So that's fun. So you can get started and do that. Now, can people use that experience when you say you want someone to qualify to be a franchisee? Is that like, do you have people that have for several years that's done the kind of the holiday part-time gig and eventually purchased a franchise?
Yeah, I mean, we have franchisees that have worked. In Honey Bake's interesting because about half of our stores are company owned and about half are franchise owned. 440 locations across 48 states. So we have a lot of wonderful stories of current franchisees that used to work for the company owned stores and have really and they're really fantastically successful. They've done really, really well. Yep.
Yeah, that sounds cool. You know, I was thinking about this. You know, my daughter. Who's I think I told you, and she's getting engaged and all this stuff. And I'm trying to, you know, when he comes back, I'm trying to get him hooked up instead of, you know, getting a house. Go ahead and get something like this, something that's income generating instead of just a money pit. So you'll have to work on them for me.
I was going to say, you know, I do take leads and referrals today. So,
you know a guy.
I'll talk to him. Let's go. I'll talk to anybody, anywhere, anytime. What is the catchphrase, Dan? Anything legal?
Yeah. Any and all things legal to get you more customers. That's what we do. So when someone climbs aboard, everything's good. We're getting started and all that stuff. The killer for everybody is thinking, okay, now. And I've spent all this money to build the store and everything. And then anything that comes in, I got to pay a royalty on. Mm-hmm. And so is that factor? How do people reconcile that?
Sure. I mean, you know, and I reconcile it as a franchisee myself, and our franchise community reconciles it, many of whom have signed up for more stores. So that tells you something. I mean, 62% of our franchise community are multi-store owners. So they must like it because they're taking on more. Right. That's kind of the biggest testament that I can say to just, you know, our brand or other brands. But you reconcile it by saying, hey, I don't have to worry about creating new products. And it's what Chris was speaking to. I don't have to worry about brand awareness on a big scale. Like when we go and do TV or radio, or now it's, you know, hey, YouTube ads or social. I get a whole lot of support, especially during holiday, but during the everyday meal period, to identify new opportunities through new products, but also to shout that from the mountaintops on a really broad scale. We think we're onto something with tailgating, and we're going to make a really big bet at Honey Baked. If you think about it, we've got a new slider product that we came out with last year. They're delicious. Ham, you know, Swiss cheese, pickles, and a little butter glaze, and you pick these things up, pop them in the oven. Perfect. You can come into our stores and get a 3-pack for lunch, which is probably what I'm going to go have today. And they were meant to be like a limited time offer. So that's part of what your royalties are paying for is the R&D to come up with these new products. Well, they were such a hit. We've launched them full time. And we're going to make a big bet this fall with football because we think the sliders go perfect with tailgating. And a lot of people do home gating. They don't go to the football games anymore. On average, they home gate meaning they invite folks over to their house and a group of people on a nice TV about 4 times a year. And we think we're perfectly positioned to be at the center of that table.
I love that. It's so true because the way the game presentation is now on television and how much it takes for you to go to the actual game, and that, you know, going to the actual game is only covering 70,000 potential fans, right? And that's a huge investment, and those are like ridiculously, you know, intense fans. But there are a ton of people that want to have people over and watch a game, and that's what we do. You know, we don't. You know, I mean, we may fire up the grill, but that's a lot of trouble. But if you can get a bunch of these sliders, and just great. Like pull it in, that's the way to do it.
You can have a Honey Baked Bowl. You have a Honey Baked Bowl every weekend at your house. That's dynamite. There's your commercial right there. So people, how's business, by the way? How's the franchise sales going?
The franchise sales are going really, really great. So as one just kind of touch point, we've got a lot of positive momentum in the brand. Over the last 5 years, we've opened 5 stores. Well, we've already got commitments since we kind of relaunched our franchising efforts about a year ago. We've already got 19 commitments to open stores over the coming next 5 years. And we're really adding on to that momentum too. We think one of the key ways we're going to add on to the momentum is a newly developed historic royalty incentive plan. So what's really exciting, we've never done this before. We're doing first year free on royalties. So if you sign up for a store between now and December, it's limited time offer. But if you sign up for a new store, your first year, you're going to pay 0 royalties. If you sign up for a multi-store deal, there's additional benefits to that and additional discounts. But we're really excited about not only the momentum that we've had, but also just the really awesome response that we've had in this first year of just relaunching this brand. I like to say, Dan, that we're kind of a re-emerging brand. I say that a lot because we've been around for 65 years, but we've just been a little bit sleepy on new stores and development. And there's a whole lot of reasons why our leadership team kind of took a strategic approach to saying, hey, we want to grow through franchising, but there's also going to be some company-owned growth too. So company is putting their gas panel on new stores, franchises as well. So we're going to bring a whole lot more Honey Bakes out there to communities that don't currently have one.
That's amazing. How many stores are out there altogether?
440 for now. But there's going to be there's going to be 75 more within 5 years. Yeah,
that 500 number is a big number in the franchise world. Everybody tries to get to 500, then you start getting better rates. That's actually huge, and I think the Honey Bake Bowl is going to make that happen.
So so a lot of the hot markets are the Southeast. Are there any sort of other markets in the U.S. that are coming on? And obviously the Southeast we can see there's a lot of orange down here. Yep. Even though I'm not a Tennessee fan, I'm seeing a lot of orange. But any of these brown states that are coming on here in terms of hot markets?
Well, I think Alabama probably should be, and then South Carolina should join North Carolina. So I think that lower quadrant. But what? It's funny that you bring this up. Iowa is coming on strong. All of a sudden, Iowa and I'm a Midwest guy. I grew up in Missouri, but Iowa and Nebraska, we feel really good about. We've done some further research. I think we're about to release more available markets in those two cities. We don't have a store in Iowa right now, and I can't believe it. Iowa, there's more hogs than people. And we just feel like Honey Bake, there has to be a Honey Baked ham store in Iowa, right? Why would there not be?
Well, hey, so the tailgating idea, just go to the Hawkeyes games. Just start doing some of the slider stuff at the Iowa Hawkeyes game. I mean, that is a whole thing there. Hawkeyes Iowa football is a big deal. So I don't know.
I think we're going to start with the SEC, but I think we're going to quickly expand. Yep. But we're excited.
From Missouri, how did you get down here? How'd you get to Atlanta?
Well, I met a girl.
Yeah. That's how it happens.
That's the famous line.
Yeah.
Well, do tell.
Oh, so actually, I grew up in St. Louis and Kansas City. Definitely in Missouri. All my family's back there. A lot of family in St. Louis. So I try to go back at least 3 times a year now. Mom's getting a little bit older, and dad too. So try to be part of the family, even though we're here in Atlanta. But after I graduated college, I got offered a job either in Branson, Missouri, or Atlanta, Georgia. And as a 21, 22-year-old something, I'm like, well, Atlanta sounds a whole lot more compelling than Branson, Missouri. So I moved there with a couple college buddies. And within a month, I went to work. And within a month, my boss said, hey, we're going to transfer you over to this North Lake location. And I said, well, funny thing is, I went on a date with Sarah last night and it went really, really well. I think I'm going to be dating her. He's like, yeah, thanks for telling me we're not seeing you over there. So I married her, and we've been married 26 years now.
Congratulations.
Look at that.
That's amazing.
And was she in the Honey Bake franchise?
She was in, we were both working for Ruby Tuesdays at the time. So that's kind of where I first started.
Great salad bar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
that was the best thing, that salad bar. Yeah. Remember Super Salad? Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Remember the Super
Yeah.
Salad? Yeah,
And
those are
whoever came
gone.
up with the half sandwich, half super salad thing, I mean, come on, that's just money.
Salad bars used to be, bars of salad and all sorts of stuff. Now they put a cage over them. They used to be cageless. Remember, without the spit guards,
Yeah.
and you used to go do that.
Yeah.
Now they got all these things to get in there with that Ruby Tuesday.
back
So
to
that's cool. So
yeah.
well,
I'm sorry.
I'm finished. I'm on the fun stuff.
Okay. All right. We're talking about salad bar, but go ahead.
No, the family stuff. So you're married 26, 27 years, you said?
Yeah,
What'd you
26.
say?
26.
26 years. Kids?
2, yes.
Two?
I got one down at Florida State. Super proud of her. She's going back this week, and then I got one who just started at Georgia Southern. So Max just started. So believe it or not, it's wild to say we're going to be empty nesters. I'm excited. Let the party begin.
Yeah.
Mom might feel a little differently than I do, but I'm thrilled.
Well, Georgia Southern isn't that far away, right? No. Yeah, Tallahassee's a little bit further. So if someone is interested in franchising in general, I've always thought about, because I think different franchises have different sort of concepts in terms of location, right? So how do you work with someone that says, "Hey, I've got the capital, I've got the passion, I want to," but they don't really have an understanding of, maybe they live in Atlanta, or maybe they live in Charleston, South Carolina, or Alabama, Huntsville, whatever. They just don't have an idea of where they want to go. They don't have a general idea of real estate, the best location for a particular honey baked ham franchise. How does that whole process work?
Yeah, great, Chris. Great question. When we move forward, we sign a development agreement that grants you the rights for 18 months to open up a honey baked ham store in a certain geographic area. We get fairly narrow. So once we're signed those agreements, we're partnering you with our construction and real estate team and a broker, a commercial broker that knows that area. So we're very much in it. Once you start working with the broker, you start identifying site selection. We guide you and the broker on it. Hey, here's successful parameters that we've seen on what sets up a honey baked ham franchisee from a site selection standpoint. And then once that franchisee has identified 2, 3, 4 locations that they love, then we start coming out to the market. So usually we send 2 trips out there to assess the site. It's something we're very passionate about. Back to that kind of royalty question, like what do you get when you become a franchisee? We are really we're doing the best that we can. Now, nobody has a crystal ball, but we're really doing the best we can to set you up from a site selection, because you're signing a 10-year lease. Yeah. And quite frankly, that's usually the bigger end of this financially, is the 10-year lease.
Yeah.
So the last thing we want to do is get somebody in a bad site and be obligated to a lease for a long time. I mean, one of the things that we're really proud about is our super low closure rate, right? I mean, we just haven't closed a whole lot of honey baked ham stores. I mean, it's one of the reasons why we've got such fantastic lending partners. They like our profile. They feel like we're a safe bet. And this is one of the reasons why. One of the key things they look at is like, how often do you close one of your stores? And we've been very, very fortunate through pandemic. When a lot of brands closed, we didn't. It's not that they didn't happen. We just have a very, very low closure rate. You're not going to be 100% perfect. That's part of what you endeavor when you become a business owner. You're inviting risk into your life, but we like to feel like, man, we really try to help people be successful. We're really in it with folks for the long term.
Awesome. Yeah, well, especially with that royalty incentive that you're doing, that's crazy. That is crazy, because people think it's just it's the first year when you're not you're not doing as well as you are obviously in your 10th year, but that first year does encompass a holiday season.
Yes. Yes.
And so that's,
if you do the math on it, it's pretty aggressive. I mean, we feel like 0 is obviously a really fantastic number. We're doing that for a couple different reasons. To your point earlier, Dan, like, we're trying to set people up for success. So when you've got free cash flow in that first year, what we'd like for you to do is market your business, right? And really put the gas pedal on getting that top line revenue going faster and accelerate that first year. So, and we're trying to accelerate our growth plans too. But it's kind of a win-win. It's a win for the brand. It's a win for the franchisee. That, in my opinion, is what franchising is all about. Franchisors, really, their profit center is royalties. Mm-hmm. Well, when royalties go up for the franchisee, profit goes up for the franchisor. It's win-win. That's one of the reasons why I really do love the model.
Yeah, I actually do like the idea that they have company stores too, because they're in the marketplace and they're able to see things firsthand, and so they can improvise, adapt, and overcome, and offer those ideas to the franchisees. I really like that now that I'm thinking about it. So I had a good question and I just immediately forgot it.
Oh, I'm ordering some sliders right now here online. This is amazing.
Well, they're great. So, this is it. This is ultimately a sales show, and I think in terms of sales, a lot of times when people take on a restaurant as a franchise, in the food, so you kind of think, even though intellectually you have to go out and get business, you kind of think, oh, I'm in my store, I'm waiting for them to come in. When they come in, I'm going to go. But there's a real kind of advertising and marketing aspect. But there's also a boots on the ground, aggressive go out and, prospect for more customers. And am I crazy in that thought process? And how do you guys do that?
Well, no, I think you're spot on, and it's near and dear to my heart. I mean, I like to say you have to have a little bit of a sales muscle in order to be successful as a franchisee. I mean, it's got to be there. First and foremost, I think you're right. You got to have a fantastic product quality. You got to have a great product. When somebody walks in the door, they have to have a good experience. Warm, friendly, clean. You got to be brilliant at the basics. The product has to be great. And your team has to be behind you and excited. And they've got to be behind the mission of creating that experience each and every day, 6-7 days a week, open to close. Every single person that walks in has a great experience. That's the foundation, I think, of restaurant, retail, just about our whole industry. It's got to start there. And then where I think you've got the huge opportunity is through catering and gifting and really going out and promoting the business in all the kinds of ways that, we think of sales is. So a little bit of marketing, a little bit of sales. I mean, when you think about, I once sold 600 hams to a guy while I was making a sandwich, but he came in, he loved the product. And all I asked him was, hey, do you ever do like employee gifts at your business? And he said, yes, I do. And that's how it started. And you find out 2 minutes later, he's like, well, I'm the guy that decides which one. And we haven't made a final decision. I'm like, well, would you consider honey baked? He said, sure. So 2 months later, I was delivering in a big tractor trailer, 600 half hams for him.
Boom.
Isn't that cool? And those
beautiful.
Let's look a little bit like this.
Yeah.
So
well, I think that is sales, right? You saw, you asked the question. You weren't just making the sandwich. I wonder if you could help me. You guys do gifts for your business?
We do, and I think we do a really great job supporting our franchisees with some of the programs that we have, because not everybody necessarily has that sales muscle. I didn't. I avoided it earlier in my career, but I was part of a team of people, and I still am at Honey Baked, that really cares and really wants people to be successful. So we've got a lot of programs that say, hey, here's how you go and do that. And we're going to teach you. If you don't have that muscle, don't have that passion, okay, well, let's find somebody on your team that can participate in some of our programs, and let's help you get your revenue up.
So let me ask you, great answers, by the way. You really are an awesome guest. I mean, so let me ask you an uncomfortable question, because at the end of the day, you're selling franchises for Honey Baked Hams. That's what you're doing. You get paid commensurate to these things that happen. So, I'm thinking at the end of the day, are you going to be there? Let's say I buy this thing. Can I still get a hold of Scott Temme? Are you still around? Are you still going to be there? How long are you going to be there? Or if I'm buying and ultimately I'm buying because of you. I know it's product and all that stuff, but it starts with you, which is a deep responsibility. So, what type of relationship do you personally maintain with your franchisees after the sale?
I really do try as best I can to maintain those relationships. So when time allows, I'm out at new store openings, high-fiving them. That is the day when all their trials and tribulations and lending paperwork and legalese and all this, and I hired 12 people and 3 of them didn't show up. But then you open your doors and now all of a sudden cash is coming this way. They're excited. So I really love to be part of new store openings. I also, during holidays, like I said, hey man, I got to keep the glaze skills up. So, and it's not by any accident that usually you're going to find me in a franchise location during holiday, blowtorching some hams,
glazing it up. Yeah.
Glazing it up. but yes, we're real lucky. We've got a franchise community I think is really special and unique. When you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work sometimes. And going out during Easter and breaking bread with, the Darren Poes and the Matt Davises and the David Hardys, and I could throw out a ton of names, and I'm sorry that I'm going to forget a whole bunch of them. It's not work. These are people that I love hanging out with.
Yeah, that's a good time, and I really do feel it. If you haven't been to a Honey Baked Ham store in a while, you walk in, it's like, hey, welcome, come on over here. They treat you like you're at a barbecue. It's really great. So how does somebody, now that everybody wants to get these franchises, how does somebody get a hold of you?
Well, there's all kinds of different ways, but for sure, what I would really say is go on honeybakedfranchise.com, the upper right-hand corner. You can schedule a call with me. Request info, though, would be the absolute best way to just, hey, put yourself in the system, and then you're going to start to get some messaging back from us. You can also message me on LinkedIn. I respond to that. Dan, you recently were with Transformation Roofing.
Yeah,
I messaged him. I was listening to one of your podcasts or LinkedIn thing, and I messaged him on a Saturday morning. I was working, doing some catch-up work. Within 10 minutes, he called me. And yesterday, they gave me a quote from my roof. Those guys were great.
They're one of our clients. They're a great group of people, also very value-driven, similar to you. So, they're just good people. And that's what starts. By the way, Chris Stone, great job. Thank you for saving me several times.
What are you talking about saving you? You were talking about salad bars. I don't even think did you guys do salad at Honey Baked Ham?
I go off on tangents.
This show's not about salad. Let's go.
But Scott, you talk. Listen, again going back to sales. The people. Don't worry about how to sell. Worry about why people buy. People buy for 4 reasons: because they like you, they trust you, they believe you, and then they'll have a desire to do business with you. And one of the main reasons why people like others is because they feed off their passion. You not only told what you expect from a Honey Baked Ham franchisee, you're absolutely living it. Nobody could look at you or hear you and not believe that you are passionate about your product and your company and the service that you provide. And so I appreciate that just to let you know, it comes through.
Oh, well, thank you. That's very flattering, very humbling. I'm very lucky to work with a whole lot of people in this building that I'm at the support center today, corporate. I'm very lucky. I work with a great team of people, some really good leadership. But thank you. That's very flattering. And you guys made this easy. You guys really teed it up, and so
I know it was an hour
to invite me.
Can you believe?
Oh, is it an hour? Oh, that's awesome.
Look at that. You see, that's quality. Oh, look at that, Scott. Tempestuousness. There he is. All right, Big Scott, you're awesome. So listen, that's the idea. If you're trying to build your business, start your sales career, succeed in your sales career, remember it starts and ends with passion. Passion for yourself, passion for your company, passion for your product, and passion that your passion for the customer that you will eventually serve, that their experience is one that they will not forget. You do that, you're going to make it your best day ever, because you're the best. I'm the Deej. Let's go get them today.